Welcome to another conversation in People in Fundraising. This podcast features interviews with nonprofit professionals who discuss their career journeys, lessons learned, and enthusiasm for working in fundraising. And here is your host, the founder of People in Fundraising, Tim Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, and welcome to another conversation in the People in Fundraising weekly nonprofit podcast. I am host Tim Wilson, and today I'm joined by two great guests, Andrea Dowd and Amelia Grant, who have a very specific topic that I'm very excited to give some time to and highlight and amplify within the Apra community. And the topic is mentor and mentee relationship, and how, as we talk today, Andrea and Amelia will explain how that relationship came to be for them and the benefits of that working relationship. So Amelia, Andrea, good afternoon to the both of you, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, good to be here.
Yes.
Should I start with mine? Sorry. I'm Amelia Grant. I'm the National Director of Prospect Development and Strategy at Hazelden Betty Ford, which is a national addiction treatment provider. I'm based out of the Twin Cities.
Excellent.
And I'm Andrea Dowd. I'm the Prospect Research and Management Associate at the Walker Arts Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Wonderful. Thank you for those introductions. And let's start with Amelia and then Andrea, and we can go that way kind of throughout the questionnaire. So Amelia, if you could please tell us how you entered the fundraising profession and sort of where you are right now. You've got, I don't know if it's public yet, but you've got a recent volunteer leadership role. So if you want to talk about that as well. And then Andrea, just for you, same thing, your career history and your involvement with Apra Minnesota, please.
Sure. Yeah, my path to fundraising was a very winding one. I was very resistant to the idea of becoming a fundraiser for a long time. And I studied foreign languages in college, a double major in French and Spanish with a game plan to like work in international aid. And I worked in France I got a job teaching English and was there for within a year. I was like, I think I want my life to be in the United States. So I came back, and this is like height of the recession.
Oh.
I ended up with a job at the Alliance Française, which is a French cultural center. So that was kind of my I was an office manager, but that was kind of my introduction to fundraising because we're a very small shop. There were 3 full-time people, I think, and then a handful of part-time people. And the executive director, shout out Christina Slander-Buzuina, is just like a natural fundraiser. And she was like all hands on deck for all of her initiatives. So I was like involved in the annual fundraising gala, involved in the annual appeals, involved in like the auction stuff. Like it was just, and got a little taste of it there, but it wasn't part of my full-time work for a while. I ended up following my husband to a job in New Orleans and getting, I started working I got an office manager position at Loyola University, New Orleans. And part of the benefits of working in higher education, you can get access to tuition. So I got my master's, I got an MBA while I was there. And I was like, I'm gonna take the tools of power and like bring them back to the causes that I care about. Though I didn't at the time think it was gonna be fundraising. My dad kept advocating for fundraising, and I was like, the money people, like, I'm not going to sell out. Like I had kind of the stereotypical prejudices about fundraising.
Yeah.
And then I focused on operations and facilities management, but one of the first job I applied to was an operations, like managing operations for a local school. And I got through the interview process, and I was like, this job is not a fit for me. And their recruiter ended up calling me back like a month or 2 later and being like, so we have this fundraising position and we think you'd be good at it. And I was like, okay. And I tried it and I loved it. It was grants management. So it was like grant writing. And so that was my introduction. We were this really small team. We were scrappy. We were like the lifeblood of this little nonprofit.
Sure.
And you're like involved, it was my first taste of it. So it's like I'm involved in the strategy. There's like we're like part of an arm of accountability for the team and like getting the community engaged.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back to Minnesota, I ended up in a similar grants management role. And one of my colleagues there left for Hazelden and when she went to Hazelden, she recruited me over.
Okay.
And that was my first introduction to individual fundraising. So I'd been in like the foundation side of things where it was pretty much all of our fundraising was institutional giving. There was like little bits of sustaining level. And then moving to Hazelden, it's been much more major gift. So my first role there was like partnering with Frontline. And I was doing that for a handful of years before I got promoted to the role I'm in now. And so I've been the National Director of Prospect Development and Strategy for a little over a year, like a year and a half.
Okay.
And this is my first time where prospect development is the center of my work. So that's why it's been really helpful to have Andrea as a mentor, really helpful to be part of the APRA community because this is a focus is sort of niche. And so learning about it, learning from each other, learning like how people do their systems has been extremely helpful. So yes, Tim, as you shouted out, I just got elected to our local chapter's APRA board, which I'm very excited about because it's been a community that's really supported me a lot over the last year, and I'm excited to give back. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. And really quick, I'm new to the APRA International Board, so just speaking for myself and maybe on behalf of the board, thank you for being willing to dive into local chapter work. We definitely need local thought leaders and people who are practitioners and excited about giving back at the local level and on up. So thank you for the time and the energy to devote to that.
You're welcome. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Wonderful. Thank you for that overview, Amelia. How about you, Andrea?
I mean, all of us prospect researchers are like, well, here's my weird story, right? None of us come into this job knowing that it exists. So after college, I had went into, well, for a summer, I canvassed for a national nonprofit for reproductive rights. And I was like, well, I can fundraise. I don't like to fundraise. And I went into publishing for a couple of years and I needed a change. And my friend, who at the time worked at Northeastern University in Boston, said, well, we need an admin on our research team to do a lot of data entry. Why don't you come out here and figure out what you want if you get hired? And I got hired. Bruce Berg was my first prospect research boss. Yes, Bruce Berg. Everybody knows Bruce. I think it's wild that he's still at Northeastern. It's great.
Yes.
So I got there, started doing the data entry, and I was like, wait, this is a job. I could learn everything and also legally, I tell my grandmothers, I legally spy on people.
Yes.
Just not what you're supposed to say, but your grandmas. And I was at Northeastern for almost 8 years doing prospect research. I got to learn under Bruce Berg, and that was lovely. I was participated in NEDRA things, so I got to learn from a whole region of cool people. And I needed to move back to Minnesota, and I went from a team of 10 to a team of 1.
Whoa.
And yes, that was a huge shift. So I moved to a women's liberal arts Catholic college here in Minnesota, was there for a number of years. Lovely. Moved over to Augsburg University for a year, to St. Mary's University for a number of years. And after a while, it was like, wow, I'm kind of over the higher education. I spent 13 years in higher education, was kind of over it.
Right.
For many reasons. And during all of that time, I had served on the Apra Minnesota board for 5 years as well. And the last 2 as president. So that was a very cool and unique experience.
Sure.
Boards are a fabulous way to get involved. Love it. Thank you, Amelia, for taking my advice. Um, and 2 years ago, an opportunity at the Walker Art Center opened up, and I ended up at the Walker. So now I'm learning all the ins and outs of the art world, which is bananas. Um, and it's been a really great experience.
That's wonderful. And thank you, Andrea, for all the time you've given to the Apra Minnesota chapter and the board. I was just struck before we get into the other questions, the diversity that you both have in your careers. Amelia, you talked about grants and operations and fundraising and now prospect development. Andrea, certainly diversity with institutions. I wasn't aware that you were in Boston. I wonder if we overlapped, at least time wise.
We did like maybe a year or two. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's really cool that you have both explored roles and institutions to find new skills and what really resonates with each of you individually. And I think I enjoy highlighting that as well with our guests, just to show that yes, it's definitely possible to move around in this industry. It's one of the benefits um, of nonprofit fundraising. So thank you both for your introductions. And I'll shift now to the main topic of today's conversation. It's the first time we've talked specifically with guests about the mentor-mentee relationship. And if I could first, I didn't run it by either of you, but I can first share my screen to show Andrea's post.
Oh,
Got the idea. Uh, I should have run that by you beforehand. Surprise.
it's out
That's
there. It's
fun.
public. That's my
Yeah.
fault.
Because when I saw it, I thought, man, this is really a great way to highlight what has worked well on both sides of the table. And so for people that follow Andrea on LinkedIn, you likely saw her post a month ago about this. If it's okay with you, I'll also put this post link in the comments for
Sure.
other people to find it. I just felt it was really inspiring, and Amelia commented on it in the comments section as well. So I was struck by just what a great, rich connection this has been for the both of you. And that led me to reach out and say, hey, I think this would be important to share and discuss in more detail, at least in this podcast. So there it is. And now if we can get back into the questionnaire, and maybe if Amelia wants to continue going first, Andrea, or we can jumble it up however you'd like.
That works.
How did this relationship begin? And um, tell us about sort of the frequency of contact. What did it look like? I don't know where you are geographically, and we don't need to go into all of that, but like, is it mostly virtual? Is it meeting up in person? Is it over the phone, Slack, however that is? What has kept that relationship as mentor and mentee working well?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Amelia, if I can just, I'll start.
Okay.
Um, Apra Minnesota actually has a mentoring program.
Oh, okay.
And, having been on the board, I needed a break after my 5 years.
Sure.
And I had promised, like, I was going to stretch myself and become a mentor, but I needed a break. So I very specifically said June and give me till June. I need 6 months.
Okay.
And when I was ready, I said, pair me up with whoever you need to pair up with. And I left it to the fates of the Upper Minnesota board that put me with Amelia.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I was a new member at Apra Minnesota. I had started my role in June officially, and I was kind of getting the lay of the land locally for it because I'm not new with the organization, but new to the world of prospect development. So I noticed that they had mentor as an option, and I was like, I had an internal mentor in my organization, but was also like, I could use someone who's an expert in prospect research, prospect development. And so I put my hat in the ring for that. And it took them a couple months to get me someone. And when they did, yeah, it was you, which was so lucky. And I remember, so yeah, we both live in the Twin Cities. So our first meeting was in person
Okay.
at a cafe. And I remember you being like, I don't know if I have that much to offer you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot. Like she has no idea. But this is like the best case scenario for me because you were so versed in this world that I had no exposure to. I didn't know about Apra at all. So yeah, I think we've mostly been virtual because I feel like work gets crazy, but we try to meet in
And
person
you
when
have
we
kids.
can. I have kids, which makes it tough. Like scheduling, life is rough, like trying to get out somewhere and back. So we do try to get in person here and there, but generally it's easier to do virtual. And yeah, so it started as formal, right? But I think we even had like I'm sure they gave me like a this is what you're supposed to do, and I don't think I did any of it.
Yeah.
It's just
So
like, let's talk.
I'm a terrible former board member. I didn't read anything if we got it. I don't know.
No, much to my husband's dismay, I'm a person who like throws away the instructions immediately and just like figures it out. So that's kind of what my go-to was. So yeah, we just met and we talked and we're like, this is what our deal is. You were open about how you'd been very involved and had kind of taken a step back because you needed like more space for other things in your life. And I was brand new to this world and just didn't even know what I didn't know. Like just knew that I knew not enough and was really eager to have someone who was versed in the world of prospect research and APRA to help me navigate this new role.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, from my perspective, I think a lot of us who are new to mentoring are very much like, I don't have the right experience. I don't think anybody would think that I have something to say or value to help them deal with whatever internal loveliness is happening. And I just had approached Amelia just to, I didn't have an agenda. I didn't have like I'm gonna mold you into this kind of person. But I wanted to be there for her because knowing she was new to her role, weirdly, I also know her researcher on her team, and I've known her for a long time as well. And so it was really important for me to just make sure that Amelia felt that she could take the reins and really like ask what she needed to ask. Um, you always come with an agenda, but we never get to your agenda because of all the things. But we did a really good job of making sure that we set the next meeting at the end of our meeting to hold us both accountable, of course, but also like this was a great conversation. It felt really impactful for me, but it was also this moment to like step out of my job for the day and like put on my critical thinking hat in a different way.
Oh, yeah. Nicely put, both of you. Thank you. In the post, I want to refer back to that. How has this, and it's been just a few months, I take it. If both of you could just share how this partnership has maybe impacted your current job responsibilities or how you think about the industry, or are there insights that you take that you think I wouldn't have thought about this project or reporting feedback up or down across if I weren't connecting Andrea to Amelia as you chat? Is there anything come to mind on that?
A million things.
Oh, great.
So we've been working together since last year. So
Last June. Okay.
yeah, it was so I think our first meeting was last October. So it's been a little over a year.
Oh,
We
great.
celebrated our anniversary.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think and that's kind of been the benefit of this partnership for me. I think there's been many, many things that I've come to Andrea with that I've been trying to get feedback on that I would have approached differently without her insight. And there's a lot of things to her point of, I always came with an agenda. Preparing for us to meet, I would come with a list of things that I was ready to talk to her about. Like I had questions that had come up in my work that I was like, I'm going to ask Andrea about this. I'm going to ask Andrea about this. And half the time, especially in the first 6 months, I feel like I would come with the question and you would be like, I have questions about your question. And like, and that we would go on a completely different path where I didn't even realize what I needed to do. And yeah, there's lots of ways with how, I mean, one of the big things you always do for me, Andrea, is like find your way to yes. Like give them their whatever you maybe can't give them what they exactly want, but find your yes for them has been a huge piece of wisdom that I use all the time.
I like that.
That one's hard for me to do all the time, but it's only been in the last couple of years where it kind of clicked of like, I'm going to say no, but I'm going to tell you yes for what you actually want. And, it's a lot about knowing your own work, knowing your database, knowing what you can and cannot provide for people. And yeah, it's hard to tell somebody who, signs your paychecks, who's in charge of your boss, no. So how do you tell them yes? I think one of the things that I have learned from this relationship with Amelia is that not only do I have plenty to share, to riff off of, but I continue to learn too. You know, when we when I encouraged Amelia to work with me to create this conference session for Apra Minnesota, it was a reminder of, oh yeah, this thing that you know how to do, you should actually use it in your job. And it's been a minute since you've used it. So it's, it might be some more rudimentary research, prospect management things, but it's a good reminder of the work that you've already done, the work that you still can do. And I always left those meetings with, okay, I feel like I need to do 5 new things that aren't new to me, but are new to my workplace. So that was great. And I think one of the things that Amelia has given to me is like this part of the job that I haven't done, which is managing other people. What it has done is help me to share with Amelia when she does have managerial related things, it is to come at it from, what if Amelia was my boss? What would I want her to do? Yes, I know her researcher also, so I'm like, what would that person want? But it's just this part of my work I haven't done. It's not necessarily something I'm terribly interested in, but how can I help Amelia be the leader she wants to be at Hazelden?
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you both for sharing that. If I could quote, again, referring to that post, and you both got the questions ahead of time, so at least this wasn't the surprise. Amelia, you posted or you commented how you were, quote, able to do so much more in the last year, knowing that Andrea is always there when I need to problem solve or commiserate. So what has that felt like for you to know that Andrea is in your corner and advocating for you, and anything come to mind there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's given me a lot more confidence in my role, feeling supported. I think I have a good amount of support on my team. I have a great team, but I think the world of prospect development is not something that they're very familiar with generally, which is probably not abnormal, I would think. And so sometimes being able to advocate for something from a place of like Andrea would give me language sometimes or like help me shape my thinking. So help me advocate for something that was best practice and like how do I explain that this is best practice?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's things like that. There's things that systems that we didn't have that I didn't even know were standard or like basic, to the point of sometimes I'd ask a question and she'd be like, I have questions about your question.
Yeah.
There was things that like we don't have in place that are pretty standard. And so I'm working towards that. And I think having her frame of reference from the places that her length of experience in these roles and in these systems really helped me make sense of what we were missing or what we could improve upon. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a big piece. And then yeah, commiserating because sometimes these jobs are, I will say like the shift to this role from what I was doing prior. Before I was very closely partnered with the front line and my job was, I think, very visible to the front line and very easy to celebrate. And I think taking a step back into more of a back, like a little bit farther back of house, a little bit more operational, makes a little more thankless and a
Mhm.
little there that like that distance between the front line can create more friction. And so I think there's been a lot of times where I've reached out to Andrea for like just I mean we've had I know we had a meeting about something where I forget what it was, but we got on and I was like I was just like melting down about something else.
No.
And you're like, that's cool. Scrap the game plan. We're just gonna talk about this. And that was just really, really helpful for me. It helped me get back in the game at work, and not feel so alone in it. So yeah, that's been a big part of it for me.
It's hard to be in the prospect research, prospect management roles because most of us, I would say, we come at it from the helper standpoint, right? We want to help people. We don't necessarily want to be front of house. We want to be part of this wonderful mission or move to support whatever we're supporting. And it's so easy to be the person, the group on the team who gets thought of as kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
Um, and man, when you're having those days where you're not feeling like you're winning very much, it can get overwhelming. And it doesn't take any effort at all for us in our community to just reach out and say, I'm having a day, or this is really strange or frustrating, or I'm feeling a little burnt out even. Like we talk about burnout more than ever, but we still don't talk about it enough. And it's just we need those moments where we can't go to our partners, friends, spouses and be like, so my job is weird because they don't know.
Right.
But we can go to another person in fundraising, in prospect research, and say, my job is weird, and have somebody say, oh no, par for the course. It really is uplifting, a little bit motivating. And yeah, to have that support is precious.
I,
I,
s- oh, go ahead.
I would also add that I think beyond the expertise that you gave me just from your personal experience, Andrea, you were such a great introduction to APRA resources and the APRA world. So like if you didn't know, you did this to me last week, right? You were like, put it on Prospect L. Like you had your own answer, but you're also like, these are the tools, and we're really good at introducing me and like kind of it was like an orientation to the APRA system, right? Like I had an idea, I have a question, and you're like, what if we presented about it to the APRA MN group? And I was like, oh, I guess we could. It wouldn't, those things would not have occurred to me. So I think it also is helpful to have someone else who is a source of support and also has a line of sight to other pieces of support that I might not. So it's kind of a exponential level of support.
I so appreciate both of your answers, in part because I think you both have hit on several evergreen topics. So, Andrew, you mentioned burnout, and Amelia, you just talked about asking questions on Prospect L and being made aware of additional resources. And you both talked really movingly about the importance of having someone you trust who knows the work that you do and is happy, eager to make the time to commiserate. And particularly for prospect development people that work in small shops, I imagine that is a pretty common experience. Yes, you can go on Prospect L, and you'll get answers to questions, but having an interpersonal connection, especially in this digital age, is really critical. So I I just applaud both of you for exemplifying, the goodness that can come from partnerships like this.
I think one of the important things about that and about the mentoring experience too is that you have to be vulnerable, right? You have to be open to letting somebody in, to telling somebody when you're not feeling your best, your smartest, your strongest. And it takes a lot. And but I think what you get out of it in the end is so what's the word I want to use? It's so motivating, and it keeps the momentum moving forward where, especially if you've been at a place for a while, it can get stagnant. You could keep hitting the same wall over and over again, but it really helps to have uh, resources community to really connect with. Yeah.
And there's
Absolutely.
a safety to an external person too, I think. Because like you're outside of my internal politics, right? So like there's things I can say to you that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying to someone internal because it's like I know you're not in that mix and I trust you to come at it with my best interests. Not that my colleagues don't, but it's easier when you're a little more removed.
Yeah, great points, both of you. And thank you for bringing up those additional topics. We have about 5 minutes left in our airtime and time for this last. It's question 4, but there's a couple of questions within question 4. So for people who might be considering mentorship, whether they're looking for a mentor or they're looking to mentor someone else new to the field or new in their career, what would you both say, and maybe starting with Andrea, has worked particularly well in your dynamic?
Well, for me personally, making space to do this was really important. Amelia shared with me last week this great article about spoons. It's too long to explain here, but um, my energy, the time that I spend on things is really important, and more so than it was 5 years ago. And so it's really important, I think, for a mentor to come at it with a little bit of grace that this is going to take up some time in your life, but it is an important thing to give back, to give of yourself. And it doesn't have to be a draining relationship. This certainly wasn't. Every time I got off with Amelia, it was like, I wish we had 2 more hours. And I think, you know, coming at it with an agenda is fine if that's what you need to do, if that's how you work. But I think letting that conversation naturally flow, letting the questions flow, our work changes every week, changes every month. And sometimes we need to talk about something different. And so just to allow for space for things to just naturally rise up. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I have kind of forgotten what the question was. Sorry, I was thinking.
What's worked particularly well for you in your working partnership with Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it has worked well. It's hard for me to tease apart exactly what we did that I think worked. I think it helps that we were able to get in person maybe to start. So it was just like getting to know each other first. So it's kind of adds a more personal element, a more casual element. I think, um, yeah, I really appreciated how open you were about just shoot me questions. I tried not to take advantage of that too much because I always have a million questions, but there'd be things that
They were all very important questions, and my emails back were always a page long.
yeah, so I'd be like, this happened. Sometimes I'd be like, this is happening. Please explain. So yeah, I think having a flexibility of like you have your formal, this is what we're doing. You have your routine so that you don't have to think about it, right? Like we have our meeting, we're going to meet for at least an hour. I'm going to have an agenda. We're at least doing that, but then giving yourself the freedom to have whatever conversation happens and also recognizing that you don't have to fit into that box. So if something comes up in between, you can shoot a note. There's like other ways that you can work with your, and sometimes you'd be like, this is a resource you should check. Or there was like the time I was trying, you pointed me in the direction of other people. So that's part of it too, right? Like you introduced me to Britta. You were like, talk to Britta at the University of Minnesota. They have this and like that. So I was able to network other ways as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think that I think we already kind of touched on a lot of what worked about it for me, which is that you were such a great resource personally, but also such a great advocate for the resources in the area and within APRA.
Yeah. And I think the finding time is hard
Yeah.
if it's, something that you could fit into your workday. I mean, most employers, I would think, I would hope, think of mentoring as part of professional development. You should be able to include this in your day
Yeah.
at um, sometimes we would meet over coffee. Sometimes Amelia has lots of people who put up special meetings on her calendar during our times, and you just have to move it. It's hard to readjust schedules, but again, you have to want to do it. You have to put in the effort to do it. But really holding yourself accountable for that next time, or for Amelia to know you could email me at any time. Just being there for that other person, it's a relationship just like any other. But yeah, making sure to really set those next times helps keep things on track.
Definitely. Because you do feel too busy all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, I think most people do. Like, how do you make time for it? But it's worth the time that you put in. I never regretted taking the time afterwards.
That's
Same.
wonderful. And then just as a final follow-up here, in a future state, as your partnership continues, do either or both of you think that, again, as, a couple years down the road and maybe bandwidth changes enough, do you think that you would be a mentor to someone else, look for those opportunities to give back and continue that?
Go,
Yeah.
Amelia. I want to hear your answer.
Yes. I mean, yes. I have no, I would definitely mentor for APRA for sure. I
Awesome.
think we'll get a little farther on the board thing and see what that time commitment's like, right? I don't really know what to expect from that, but I think once I have, but it is good, I think, for me, Andrea, that you were so vulnerable about the like, I don't think I have anything to offer, because that's the first thing I'm like, I don't have anything to offer. But I think it's good sometimes to just take that leap and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for your time today and for your thoughts on what has worked really well and how this mentorship developed. I appreciate knowing that there was a framework within Apra Minnesota for this, and then you've taken it and made it your own, what Amelia needs with what Andrea needs, what you both can bring to the conversation. And I'm just really excited to share your thoughts and reflections on this with the people in fundraising audience. So it's been very beneficial for me to hear how this all has gotten to this point in time and how it's benefited both of you in your careers and personal life. And yeah, I'm just very thankful that people like you want to give back, and giving back there's different ways to do it. And in this case, um,
Absolutely.
it's really beneficial and enriching.
Well, Tim, I really appreciate you having us on, because as the person who waited almost 15 years to become a mentor, I know that there are plenty of people out there who were like me or who are currently like me. And, what can I give back? I don't have anything to give. That's not the case. At the very least, you're being supportive of another person. Um, and I really appreciate, what Amelia has brought out in myself as well. So, Tim, I really appreciate this, and I hope that it speaks to somebody out there.
Definitely. I'm sure it will. Yes. And it reminds me, I cite him so often, I should send him royalties, but Arthur Brooks, who's a prolific author and writer for the Atlantic. And I'm at this point, I think, in my career, and he talked about this. He says that devote the second half of your career or the back half of your career to giving back, and however you want to define that, because you have experience and expertise and a perspective that people, coming new to the field or new to this particular role can really benefit from, and sets them up for additional success. And we're definitely seeing that today with the both of you. So it's been a real pleasure for me to have you on, Amelia and Andrea, and I look forward to sharing your conversation across various platforms early in January of 2026, if you can wait that long. So I'll mention those platforms now. So for people that follow People in Fundraising, you'll know this, and I appreciate your support. Andrea's and Amelia's conversation will air on a Monday in January with a post on LinkedIn that will have links to the video component on YouTube as well as the audio on Podbean. And thanks to Luis Diaz of WISE and the Donor Participation Project. He was my 100th guest. He is sponsoring my website, peopleinfundraising.wordifysites.com. So please, when this interview airs, check out the conversation on any of those platforms. And thank you again for your time today, Andrea and Amelia. It's been great to connect with you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.